In terms of tourist potential, if you look at the region, you look at Bulgaria with its very, very extensive beach resorts. Turkey obviously is a world leader now. Greece is not that far away. Also is very, very dependent. Its economy is very dependent on tourism. Yet Ukraine, the tourism is a very small part of the national budget. Why is that, do you think? And what can be done to make the Black Sea more of the Ukrainian Black Sea more of a tourist destination?
So as I already mentioned, everything, well, if not all, so most of it requires government support and government program. There should be clear messages for the country and for the regions. Definitely regions and separate hotels could promote themselves, but they won't ever reach the level at the audience that the government program could get. And I agree with Lev that Ukraine is a unique country with historic monuments, with the religious monuments, with different opportunities for leisure, for different climates. So it could be snow and mountains in the west and perfect sea and beautiful nature with beautiful historic palaces and monuments in the south. In the east, there are a lot of religious and interesting places to visit as well. So this could be really exploited and developed. And private investors, most of them would follow the government appeal and would follow the government idea if there is a guided program and clear program of strategic development.
These sort of programs have often been mooted as ideas, but they've not actually really ever developed as a very strong Ukraine branding initiative. What sort of positioning do you think Ukraine should take as a tourist destination? As a new destination, or as a traditional tourist destination, as a beach destination, or a city break? You know, how would you package it?
If we're talking about Crimea, so Crimea traditionally was perceived by Ukrainians, by the Russians and other nations from CIS as a traditional beach resort. So you don't have to invest and invent something new there. You should exploit on the existing opportunities. For example, 2 years ago, there were no warehouse refrigerator that could conserve the milk products. So what does it mean? That there is no infrastructure where you could buy fresh milk products. So how could you go for a vacation always being afraid of getting, something bad to eat?
This is in Crimea you're talking about?
Yes, in Crimea.
Your own experience?
Yes, in Crimea.
Now, in terms of the service standard as well, I know a lot of certainly foreigners have a lot of issues about the relationship to customer care here, which can often seem a throwback to the old days. You know, the old adage, we pretend to work and you pretend to pay us, or the Soviet socialist bloc attitudes. Do you think that's a long-term problem, or is this just a transitional thing that the country will eventually just simply move away from?
I think that the issue is one of understanding what the rewards are for the right behaviors. And I really think it's as simple as that. And if you take a look and you test some of the hotels that consider themselves a high standard, I think you will experience some exceptional customer service. And part of it is because the compensation structures are appropriately aligned. Part of it is because sometimes it's as simple as expectations are laid out that your customer is the only reason we're in business. It's the only reason you're employed, and people learn from that. And I think the issue here, though, is that has not permeated the entire spectrum of the hotel industry yet. I think you'll find that at the higher end, and I think you'll find that at the sole proprietor, call it, lower end of the scale. And I don't mean lower end in terms of quality, but lower end in terms of bed and breakfast, or very much a family-oriented type business, where the family shows you the true Ukrainian care that the people of Ukraine really demonstrate on a day-to-day basis when something is near and dear to them. So I do think that the issue here is that it's consistent with what Elena had mentioned before, that there's this huge gap in that 2 to 4 star category in terms of the level of service. The numbers of hotels arguably are matched up to the current level of demand to a certain degree, but I'm not exactly sure that the level of service in those hotels matches the demand of the finicky consumer that you mentioned, Peter.
No, well, which is as they tend to be. Okay, and finally, if I could ask you both, where would you take a guest? If you had a guest arriving internationally in Ukraine, you could go to one place only. Where would be your choice for a tourist destination in Ukraine to show this country? Perhaps Lev, you have any?
Probably Lev will answer first.
Peter, for me, that's an easy answer. It's back to my own roots, which is in Western Ukraine. It's the Lviv region where I just get this feeling of true Ukrainian hospitality and warmth. Just walking the street and taking a look at the architecture that remarkably much of which survived World War II. So I think just seeing the deep tradition, the roots, and again, I'm very biased because that's my own. So I would take people to go see where I came from.
Lviv, yes.
So I think I will take to Donetsk.
Donetsk.
Because
yeah.
Donetsk was the first city in Ukraine that I moved in 2006, and I was literally impressed with the city because it was totally opposite from what I heard and known before about the city.
And I will support you as well, Elena, because when I go to Donetsk, I get a feeling of true pragmatic customer service in Donetsk. I think that's a peoples that really want to see this country do better and move forward. So I agree with you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on Investing in Ukraine, Europe's Final Frontier. Goodbye.